We are just over a month away from our 1.0 release on the 23rd of April, and whilst there's been a lot of buzz about the manufacture mode, I wanted to take the time to talk about classic mode, which has been switched up a little. But before I dive into the classic mode changes, I'd like to take a moment to briefly explain the differences between the two modes and which one might be right for you. Classic mode is the original experience first developed for Shapez, where you were required to send quotas to a central hub. This was then expanded in Shapez 2, where the various shapes were sent to a vortex to complete the milestones, unlocking new machines to expand your factory. Naturally, this starts off at a factory level, covering all the basics that you need to know before building at scale, and is the intended start for the game, making it perfect for new players, but also those who just need a bit of a refresher. Once you feel a bit more comfortable with the game and refreshed your knowledge, and maybe you have some of the modular blueprints in your library, manufacture mode awaits with the challenge of building larger scale factories and solving the logistical challenges associated with them. Now, manufacture mode will be available from the beginning, so you can switch to it at any time. Or if you prefer solving the individual shape puzzles, we've expanded classic mode in 1.0, adding 5 new milestones which implement trade stations into the classic mode experience. These trade stations will act a little differently to how they are in manufacture mode. Firstly, you'll notice they have, for the most part, differing designs, but also have simpler recipes to produce different exotic shapes. Now, while speaking of design, they've also undergone a little improvement to all manufacturers, which we think you'll agree looks even better. Now, these 5 milestones will be separated into 3 tiers of trade stations. So milestone 8 gives you access to the red, green and blue trade stations, which take a dedicated input and produce the new exotic shapes, which will be needed for the operator shapes, as well as the next tier of trade stations. Milestone 9 provides cyan, magenta and yellow stations, which take the previous trade station shapes to produce their dedicated coloured shapes. Ready for milestone 10, which will produce the shapes you need for the 11th milestone's Vortex Grand Assembler, which will reward you with an entirely new shape, which you will use to unlock the 12th milestone and complete the game mode, rewarding you with a game mode mastery badge. Now, this is a new addition for 1.0, and you'll unlock a new badge for each scenario that you complete, with 6 of them available in total. So you get 1 for completing the new operator guided tutorial, as well as 1 for each of the classic scenarios and manufacture mode. Now, returning to the classic mode changes, you may be wondering why we've added these trade stations to the classic experience. And the reason behind this is that it allows us to add new types of shapes to the mode, expanding on the experience. These will only become available at the end of classic mode and don't require you to scale up your factories as much as in the manufacture mode, unless you want to. After all, the factory must grow. Now, along with the new shapes, we'll also be adding lore to the experience, which you'll be able to enjoy throughout your time at Vortex Limited. Just try not to break anything whilst you're working there. You'll notice as you start out in classic mode that the default map generation is now set to spiral, and you can change this if you wish in the map generation settings. Another small change is that we've changed the name of the rules section to challenges to better reflect the in-game changes they'll make if implemented. And for those of you who are brave enough to face hexagonal mode and its added complexity, you'll notice we've also streamlined the goals, and you'll be starting off at the space platforms stage, similar to the other modes. And when it comes to building at space level, we've actually shifted the space floors up one level so that they now better match the building floors, and we've also reworked the speed upgrades, making it global for all machines. That way the ratios between machines never actually change, making it easier to upgrade. Though you'll still want to upgrade your train speeds separately when necessary, and you'll also be able to purchase extra chunks in the shop to build even larger facilities. Thankfully, we've fixed shape previews, which means even with a larger facility, you'll be able to easily see what's going on where, whether by space belt or train. These now show at the end of space belts, pipes, train loaders and unloaders, and train logic has also been improved. You'll now be able to add the train spacer between loaders and unloaders so that you can hold on to some resources for a future station. This does mean though that if you want trains to only drop off a part of their load, you'll need to use the spacer. Otherwise, only the freight loaders directly connected to a stop or neighbouring a connected loader will actually send its resources to the train. Otherwise, it will just pass straight on through. And finally, we touched on this in the last video, but pipes now have an infinite throughput, although you will still be throttled by launches between platforms, so make sure to consider that whilst you're building. Now, hopefully this has given you an insight into the changes to Classic Mode for 1.0, and while we're at it, I've also noticed a few questions cropping up about save compatibility for 1.0. Now, we have covered this previously, but unfortunately, due to the scale of these changes, current saves aren't going to be compatible. This is also why achievements aren't retroactive, and so you can't unlock them prior to 1.0. Now, we've made this decision with the community on the Discord, and doing so has actually allowed us to ship the game to 1.0 faster and with more features, like making the current blueprints compatible with 1.0, and also bringing the new manufacture mode, which is now much larger than we first anticipated. Now, we know this isn't what you wanted to hear, but for those of you who do not want to say goodbye to your saves that you've spent so long developing, we are going to make a Steam branch available to you for pre-1.0 saves. That way you can continue to play them on the current branch up until you're ready to transfer over to 1.0. But I should also mention that we do not intend any of our future updates to break the save games. Now, that's all we have time for in this particular video. If you are interested in more developer videos from us, do consider subscribing. And whilst I get to work on the Modding Insight video, why not check out our previous video on achievements coming to Shapez 2 in 1.0. But guys, until next time, thanks for watching.